Well, hello everybody, we're back here. Daniel Farke has just done his press conference, and as always, we're here to react. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Like, comment and subscribe. Check out the opposition preview. I'm going to go through Daniel Farke's press conference today. So immediately he said nobody's come back injured, everybody available, nobody injured, good news, proper training week. Really important because this means that Farke right now it's the perfect part for him, really. I mean, if there's multiple players out, he's got that, not excuse as such, because maybe that's a little bit harsh, or maybe it's not harsh, maybe it is kind of what he'll use, but it is a general problem if some of your best players, especially for this Leeds United side, are out. He does have a full squad available to him for a home game against Aston Villa, which should be really important. He then said nobody in this room. He was asked about Daniel James. He says nobody supports Daniel more than me. On my first day here, I said he'll be a key player for us. I've always been asked why Solomon, Anthony, Ramazani have not played, but that's because I know what Daniel can do. I guess my rebuttal to that right now would be, he has to be on the pitch then. We've had like 2 or 3 games now, at least in the last 2, where James isn't playing. He's available, but he's not playing. And it's because Farke, and it'd be kind of nice for the follow-up questions here from some of the journalists to ask him on this as well. Sometimes I think they're a little bit meek in these press conferences. I think the posts are actually normally a little bit better than the press conferences. I think what you've got to do is now play him, right? If Dan James is available, there's a pecking order with this Leeds United side. Aronson is right at the bottom of that pecking order. The problem with Farke right now is he keeps picking Brendan Aronson, and this is the issue, isn't it? Don't get me wrong, look, if we're to be balanced about this, is Brendan in good in certain areas? Yeah, of course he is. He's energy, endeavour, can help the fullback out a little bit more maybe than the other wingers, but ultimately you need technical ability now to be able to get you to that next level when it comes to positions in the Premier League. It's because the thing in the Premier League is they have this technical ability, but they also combine that with energy and endeavour. And I do feel the likes of Wilfried Gnonto, as an example, has the defensive attributes, as does Dan James, have the defensive attributes to be on a very similar level to that of Brendan Aronson. I'm sure the numbers back that up as well. So he's mentioned the fact that there is no players injured now. I don't want to see Brendan Aronson. You guys let me know in the comment section below. I don't want to see Brendan Aronson on the right side anymore. We don't want to see that. I want to see either Wilfried Gnonto or Dan James. He was asked about Wilfried Gnonto as well. He says, I love Gnonto at the end of last season. We forget how young he is. We have to be careful. My job not to create a culture here that when we lose players who did not play are the winners, because it leads to an atmosphere of hoping the team loses when you play. I'm not sure what he means really by that. I think what he's trying to say is, like, you don't want to rely on the players who are out of the side when really you've got players who you've selected who you feel will be better for the game coming up. I think that's what he's getting at. Once again, I think with Wilfried Gnonto, we've mentioned this several times, the Forest game, the Brighton unavailability. We know from Daniel Farke's last 2 press conferences that Wilfried Gnonto's fit. And we saw in the Nottingham Forest game that when Jack Harrison came on, that was clearly a ploy. That was clearly going to be a part of Daniel Farke's predictable, yet again, substitutions. Harrison was always going to come on. So if Harrison's always going to come on, that's the issue, because Leeds fans like myself and many others are going to point to the fact that Wilfried Gnonto's out the squad after you've said he's got a clean bill of health. So that's the problem. And sometimes that's maybe why Farke talks a little bit too much when it comes to this, because I think people can always go back and potentially reread and rewatch what you've said. And I think right now a lot of Leeds fans are looking at it, and it's not I think what he's trying to say here is you can't add effectively, these, and he might not be saying this, but I kind of read between the lines here, is that you can't really add attributes to Wilfried Gnonto. Just because he's out of the side doesn't mean he's going to get you out of it. Correct, but if you've got partnerships being forged with that front 3, we've said from day dot this season that you will get the best out of a forward 3 with those 3, because they are the best technical players and they work hard as well. I think all 3 of them work hard. I think Noah Okafor's getting to a clean bill of health now when it comes to fitness as well. He seems to be getting more and more minutes. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was mentioned in midweek how this is the fittest he's felt in a hell of a long time, and I think the matches back that up. Wilfried Gnonto's been available for 2 or 3 matches. So yeah, I think there's got, as he said, everybody's available, but he said everybody's been available the last couple of weeks previously as well when Gnonto's not been included. So that's what gets Leeds fans a little bit confused, because then it comes down to a squad selection issue. He said that important, we don't put too much weight on Gnonto after the injury, allow him to build confidence on the training pitch. I cannot be driven by picking the players who were not involved in a team loss. I think he's just got to start. I think if he's available, he's got to start. I don't think the attack is prevalent right now. I don't think it's been profitable for the club. And I think if you wanted to score goals, you need him to score goals, you look to your more technical player. Who's a better footballer, him or Aaronson? It's really basic. Gnonto. Who's a better footballer, Gnonto or Daniel James? Gnonto. You can boil this down to so many circumstances. Who's better in tight spaces? Gnonto. If he wants to build up from the back, who's better in build-up phases? Gnonto, because he's got better close control. Better in tight spaces, better off his right and his left, a low centre of balance, which gives him the ability to go either way, which is important when you come to these tight spaces. You know, good dribbler, all of these things, the technical level, Wilfried Gnonto is better than those two players. I'm a massive fan of DJ, I am. But on a technical level, I think Gnonto gives you something a little bit more. He said as well, I cannot waste energy for self-marketing. I don't want to focus on this too much because it kind of makes it a little bit more personal with Farke. But what I will say is, he said, if you follow our way, you know what we're trying to do and our way to win. I think he's just got to be a little bit careful here when it comes to saying, I cannot waste energy for self-marketing. This was when he was asked about not his position as such, but how he backs up his position. He's been speaking to German media, he's been speaking to English media this week, you know, of which he would have said, yeah, I'll talk to them. And I think he's been very confident in his ability. I like the fact that he's confident, by the way. I like the fact that he's confident in his ability. I like the fact that maybe he doesn't listen to the outside noise, although I think you've seen in his press conferences that he does reference things that are in the outside media. And he was speaking about the outside media a lot today, albeit he was asked the questions as well. But I do think he reads Daniel Farke, what's going on. I think he watches what's going on as well, because he references too many little bits in his press conferences. So I see why there is criticism after the last two games, which is good. We were pretty self-critical too. I kind of would have liked him to say, and I'm pretty self-critical too. I think the emblem has been Bielsa. I've been listening to Bielsa for the past 12 hours, reading in and around him because I find him fascinating, and he's just taken so much accountability for Uruguay. It's been incredible. But then on the other side, Bielsa's just been like, yeah, but I'm taking them to the next competition I'm going to be involved in. I'm going to be here, but it's my fault. And I do think there is I've said this before, I think it's a human level of being able to take accountability. I think it's a really important characteristics. He was asked about cutback defending as well. Leeds are conceding a hell of a lot of goals from cutbacks. We all know this. We're conceding a lot of goals from men just being free in the box, and it seems to be a reoccurring pattern. He says at Brighton, not enough pressure on the ball in build-up, always compacts, never open, but bravery in duels was the first problem. Defending the crosses into the box, spot on. Worked on it in training. He said, and then this is kind of the thing that's been blown up a little bit online. He said, last two, we had more possession than opponents. Not normal for promoted teams to do this. Had it where it doesn't count, which is an important distinguishing factor to put here. Around the cake rather than in zones to create. Fantastic team goal. Did not bring midfielders forward for finishing pass. Need to be closer to the striker. Yeah, I mean, that's on Farke. Like, that is, I don't know how more basic this has to be. That is, it feels like he knows the problems, which is good. I don't believe he's going to learn from them. Believe it or not, I don't think there's going to be that much change. But I do think that he clearly identifies the problem and knows the problem. It's then, is he going to act? You know, he's still talking about more possession than the opponents. It means nothing. It means nothing. We've done analytical breakdowns over the past week, really, where we've looked into the data and the analytics of Leeds in the final third. We are nowhere near it when it comes to the final third in the midfield. And he knows that evidently by this comment, but need to be closer to the striker. That's a systematic change. It's a framework change. I think a little bit later on as well, he mentioned Nottingham Forest, and he said, look, when we were looking at Nottingham Forest and we were looking at that game in particular, the issue is Nottingham Forest went into a back five and then you're not going to be able to build up against the back five. It's like, well, that game was in the balance for quite a long time. You know, you could have changed up the direction of play. You could have brought on substitutes a little bit earlier to change that direction of play. You could have made changes at half time to change that. And at least this is what a lot of the outside media is saying, or whoever, even the inside bits when it comes to Leeds. It's like, well, you know, you're not a manager, you wouldn't know. Everybody would criticise him if he did that as well. They wouldn't. Literally, Leeds fans wouldn't, and I'm sure they wouldn't, because that's showing learning. If he's a little bit more proactive, if he's changing things a little bit, if Leeds are becoming a little bit more unpredictable with team selection and not just seeing the likes of Brendan Aronson wide right every single game and seeing the most predictable style consistently. This team is built for physicality. It's not built for possession in the Premier League. This team is built, in my opinion, for a back three. Hence why Stroud didn't go out and Biel came in. Biel went, I get it's the Premier League, but Biel went to on the international break and was fantastic in a back three. This team is built for it. There's definite levels of pragmatism that will really elevate this Leeds team. This is what I mean. I think this Leeds team is competitive and can be competitive. I just think right now we're being led down the garden path of it's not good enough, it will never be good enough. We have to be 10 out of 10 to get a point every single week. And whilst I understand that and agree to it to a certain extent, Leeds can be playing to the strengths which we've seen this season when it comes to athleticism, physicality, and we've recruited for that. We've recruited for that and we've seen it be successful this season. So if you've seen it be successful this season, play to it again and again. Don't lapse into an old style of play of which isn't going to get us any sort of plaudits or points really for the remainder of the season. And this is the thing, like I look at the Villa game and I think we'll get something. I think we'll get something against Villa, and that might surprise a lot of you, but long term, do I think this is going to work? Maybe with the gaffer, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. Of course I am. I don't think this is going to work, but ultimately I'm a Leeds United fan. And I'm absolutely praying that we get the result this weekend. And if Farke gets the result this weekend, I'm going to be saying brilliant, well done, especially systematically. There's been a little bit of a difference, especially if he's acted a little bit differently in the game. And you'll say, well done, Farke. And that's what we've always done on the channel. We've always praised Farke when he's warranted of it. But unfortunately, recently, we're seeing the same patterns and the same trends of which pre-season we said we're going to call him out for if this is continuing, and it is continuing. So, yeah, there's no personal accountability here, but at least he kind of knows systematically where the problems are. That at least is maybe a modicum of accountability to where things are going wrong. But ultimately, that's all based on system. You have to change personnel. You have to change framework. And if you don't do that, there's going to be the same things over and over again. But I think we'll get a point this weekend. I think there's going to be an absolute unified force when it comes to Leeds at Elland Road. I think there's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere down there. I think Villa fans will bring it as well. But I think at home, Leeds' record's been relatively decent, and I've got a feeling that hopefully you might see Leeds in a little bit more of a direct nature, winning those second balls. And if we do that, then we've adapted, we've learned. Can we take that into an away game, which we don't see in away games, which you feel like that style of play should be acclimatised to away games, even more than home games? If we do that, if we see that, Farke's learned. Farke gets results. Farke stays in the job. It's that simple. It really is. This, as I say, it's not based on agendas. It's not based on, I want him out, I hate Daniel Farke. It's nothing like that. I want the best for Leeds United. And as for you guys, you want the best for this football club. If Farke gets wins, if he adapts, if he changes, I don't think that will happen. But if he does, brilliant. And well done, Daniel Farke. That's what we've all said from day dot. If he adapts, if he changes, then maybe we'll give him that leash a little bit longer. Do I think that'll happen? No. But I do think we'll get something this weekend. My heart is saying 2-1 Leeds, but I'm going to go with a 1-1. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. We'll be back, obviously, with the watch-along and the instant match reaction and white noise, I believe, on Sunday. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and we'll see you on the other side. Cheers.